All right, hey everybody. So this is Josh Bruce, and we're continuing to look at Shoop via the diff dev format of looking at things. So basically, this is kind of like a code review, summary of what was happening. If you would like to see sort of the extended cut, by all means, let me know, and we can make that happen. I am still recording the long form. Um, and if you want to see it, cool. If not, then I'm not gonna put it together. Because man, anyway, watch the first diff dev video and you'll understand why, I think. So looks like here we were just verifying what string min max and make iterator did. So because that's one of the things that I think is interesting about Swift is that a lot of the methods that are on these base data types, they're on all of them. And that's one of the reasons that I think that it's a very elegant and eloquent language. So that's what one of the things we're trying to mimic in here. I'm going to skip this numbers document for just a second. And it looks like got rid of whatever that did and is greater than. I can't remember what we had the true false in there for, but not important. And this doesn't show up, and I think we're going to have to do command spacebar, and we're going to do methods dot numbers. Wow, did we really rename it to Shoop methods? I guess we did. So after a while of monkeying around with this, and this is not the version that I think was done at that time, basically what I ended up wanting to do is be able to get sort of this bird's eye view of where we were with everything, right? And so in this iteration, at least, we have this sort of what is the positive phrasing, what is the negation of that positive phrasing, and then what are the synonyms? So what other methods or concepts can we use? And then we have our sort of universals, the generics, if you will, and then any sort of interfaces. Looks like we got rid of those or didn't track them. And then we have the actual data types, right? So integer, string, array, and I'm going to say range. I'm going to skip over a couple of these, but then we have like set, and set is basically an array, but it's an array of unique items, right? So if you, let's say we had, zoom in more. Oh, hello. There we go. So if you had 1, 2, 2, or yeah, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, right? Like if that was your array, that would be a perfectly fine, perfectly valid array. When it got fed into a set, the only way that it could be a legal set would be to drop the duplicates, right? So you'd end up with a set that looked like this, despite starting with an array that looked like that. And it does that with strings. It does that with everything. And then you have a dictionary, and a dictionary is different from an array in the sense that it has string keys. So in PHP, it's an associative array, and so basically you have a key, and then the double arrow, and then you would have value. In this case, a string, comma, and then you could do key 2, and this could be 3, right? Whereas with a standard array, right, so it would be something like 0, or not something like, it would be this, 1, rocket ship, 3, right? And so basically by saying, by giving them different names, these same general constructs, which are basically just collections of things, of key value pairs, really, because even the 0 with the value on the other side is just a key value. It just so happens that the key is an integer. Then we're good there. Now, a tuples are interesting, at least from a Swift perspective, because they're essentially a dictionary, but they come back as an object. And so the way that you could do that in PHP would be to do, object, and then come back here and copy this and paste that in, right? And so that casts the array to being a standard class, right? And so we basically we're setting ourselves up to potentially have all 4 possibilities of collections. Now, the green basically means that I've implemented it, but basically down here we can also see the action. So if we come over to random, random doesn't have a negation, random string, random value, these are the other names that it's known by, but basically the positive variant is going to get you a random character within the string. If it's an array, it's going to get a random value from within the array. This is going to do the same thing, a random key value pair, right? Like, you get the idea. The plus sign means we're using the positive, not the negation. And so now if we come down here, so if we scroll over, positive phrasing plus is the method name, the negation is minus, and synonyms are append, at least to the plus, right? And so basically, when we create plus the method on integer, we're going to have perform addition operation on current value and given value. Whereas if we give the negation, perform subtraction, right? So minus, remove all occurrences. If we have a string, like say hello, and we say minus L, it will remove all the L's, and you just end up with who. So yeah, that's good times. So that's what that's all about, that methods.numbers file. All right, so I think we got time for 1 or 2 more. Wow. Look at that. So it looks like from an overview perspective, I was migrating some things. Yeah, I think this is where we were actually starting to get into. Yeah, I had to replace it, so not that big of a deal. So basically, same editor config, same this, same that. I don't know why. I can't remember why I had to do this, or felt like I had to do this, but I did. All right, so Shoop 11. Oh, okay. So basically, inside of PHP Unit, you have the ability to create test suites, separate test suites. As we get farther along in the Amos videos, you'll see that come alive pretty well. And so basically, just breaking off the tests into these are the collections, right? And we just talked about that, like that's array, set, dictionary, tuple, that sort of a deal. We added in our ESRA class. It's wrappable, it's equatable, so we're still trying to use interfaces. Is same as, is different than. Oh, I switched from is not same as. Funny story. I actually won't go back to this, but anyway, is different than. More characters, but a little friendlier. So, because part of this is also an experiment in language, like, avoiding negative phrasing in words, and I don't want to say being soft, but being really literal, right? So, is not same as is basically saying is different than. So why not just say is different than? Because then your brain doesn't have to go through the mental hoop of not what, right? So looks like we set up our base unit tests, right? Can initialize, so that's good times. Changing the is same as array test. Looks like we did some major refactoring and reengineering, probably leading ultimately to the deletion. Let's see what we got here. This looks like the same thing. I think I was having issues with Git and GitHub. Yeah. Oh, so here's wrappable. Again, foreshadowing, but basically it just is a wrap method and an unwrap method. So how do we do that with you, right? More of the different than, right on. 11.1. I have no idea what this naming convention is, and that's why I'm also wanting to get through these so I can get to a better process altogether. Oh, so I decided to create a trait called equatable implementation, because now that we're passing in sort of, we know that we're always passing around these whatevers, right? The Shoop version of these things. It's actually pretty easy to compare stuff, right? Just grab the value that we currently are, which is a raw PHP value, do a hard comparison against the unwrapped value of the thing we were given, and poof, we know if they're the same or not. And then is different than becomes pretty simple too. We just say, you know, is it the same as that? And whatever the opposite is, right? So good times. Wow, really? Again with the whole like, man. Yeah, I have no idea what happened there. Seriously, like, it's really kicking my butt trying to figure it out. All right, so random element. I couldn't figure out how to do testing. Like, how do you test for a random element? Give me a number between 1 and 100, and then what are you testing for, really? That it's between 1 and 100? At which point, aren't you testing other people's code, which is something we've talked about avoiding in the long run. So, all right. Anyway, wrap string. See, and this was interesting. Wrap string. This is where I first started getting sort of this idea or this notion of being able to pass in anything, and we'll get to that later. And it looks like, oh wow, oh, I thought the ordering was off. Yeah, the ordering is not off. The history is all flummoxed because I actually started the class with str and arr, and that was the naming of the classes back in the day. So yeah, wrap string, move that to the wrappable thing. Yeah, and you can see now I'm starting to make things more generic. Like, don't tell me what it is. Like, I'm trying to take the load off of the developer of like, okay, I just did this and did this and did this other thing. It's going to be a bool, right? Instead, just say, you know what? Whatever it has, and if it matches what you expect, great. And so yeah, here's where we get into changing the name to ESRAnge. Yeah, so very cool. Shoop 13. Let's see if we can go through this one real fast. Okay, so totally deleted random, random and shuffled. Or did I move them? No, I deleted them. ESString, got rid of a bunch of stuff. Bisect array. This is something we might want to do again. So basically what it does is I can say, you know, whatever it is, I want a bisected array at, you know, index 3 or whatever. So we might end up getting back those describable, like I made that into an interface, which is actually, I think, similar to PHP's toString method. So we might do something there. Randomizable, right? Like I'm really trying to find between like looking at this code and then coming back and looking at the Shoop methods spreadsheet, really looking for that duplication. You know, what can be used across all 3 or 4 or whatever data types. Wrappable, deleting a bunch of stuff, manipulation, yep. Tests are code too, so we're refactoring the heck out of those. Yeah, so this is where I'm getting rid of, tell me it's a string, tell me it's this. And also prepending with rapstring and instead of full or from. So, yep, very cool. So yeah, we were cruising right along. I'm digging this new format, at least from the perspective that it covers things. I hope it's valuable to you as well. And like I said before, just if you would like to see the full video on how we got sort of there, just let me know, and I will definitely be willing to edit the long form together for you. With that said, as always, thank you so much for making the time. I definitely do appreciate it, and I will see you around.